Eddie, just quickly, Mauricio Sulaiman's responded to your comments about the Manny Pacquiao fight, saying there's double standards, and it's because Eddie Hearn's not promoting it.
Yeah, that's the funniest. I mean, imagine Mauricio Sulaiman or the WBC accusing me of double standards. I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, I actually wrote to Mauricio this morning because he didn't like my comments about Bivol and Beterbiev, and I actually got a little bit of those comments factually wrong, but I still felt like he was calling out a fighter and goading him and giving the public information about an offer that had been made. And I don't believe that's the job of a president of the governing body. So he wrote to me asking to retract those statements, and I refused. And then I made my comments about Manny Pacquiao, and he made his comments today, and I wrote to him, I said, you got to cheat. You said all this about me. You called me embarrassing, a loudmouth. That was quite fair, the second one. And double standards. And I said, how ironic is that, you accusing me of double standards? The reality is, the reason Manny Pacquiao has been put in the rankings is because, forget that he's a legend and all that kind of stuff, because he thinks it's a big fight, it's generate a lot of money and sanction fees. That's the reality, and sometimes you'd be better off just being honest about it. If it was a legend that didn't generate any money, and there was, he didn't want to, like, you just wouldn't put him in the rankings. So that's why you're supporting it. There isn't anyone that thinks that Manny Pacquiao should be automatically inserted at number, 5 or whatever he was, in the WBC. It's ridiculous. So, but I'm going to say it, because I'm not going to pussyfoot around and just say, oh yeah, it's fine, because in my opinion, it's not fine. So me and Mauricio are going to get on sometimes, we're not going to get on other times. He probably don't care, I don't care either.
Is the issue with Manny Pacquiao coming back the fact that he's been in the rankings? Because obviously there was talks of him and Conor Benn, weren't they, at one stage? Is the issue around the world?
Where it was well over a year ago, we got approached about Manny Pacquiao. I said, yeah, maybe it's a fight we could consider. Conor Benn, his best win at that point was Chris Algieri, right? It was not for a world title. It wasn't to do with anything in the governing body. We just got approached about that fight. And we got absolutely ridiculed. People were saying to me, you're a disgrace. How can you think about putting Conor Benn in with Manny Pacquiao? Now, fast forward 18 months or whatever it is, he's now been inserted in the world rankings. And worse than that, he's fighting for a world title.
Eddie, can I just get your comments then on the Normans and basically...
Norman who?
Brian Norman.
Oh, Brian Norman, yeah.
And basically alluding to the fact that Boots has moved up to 154 to avoid it.
I mean, like, look, this is the reality. About straight after the Stanionis fight, we contacted Top Rank and we said, we want to do a deal for Boots to fight Brian Norman. They said, great, let's get on it, right? We love Top Rank. They want to make big fights. They contacted the Normans and they said, oh, we're fighting in Japan, we're going to get this fight out of the way and we'll talk about it after that. I'm like, no, we need to know now, because if not, we're going to move up to 54. Oh, we're not willing to talk about a fight. We offered them $1.75 million to fight Boots about 6 months ago. They said, we want $2 million. And after the Stanionis fight, we said, we'll give you your $2 million. And they still didn't want to take it. So of course, now we're moving up. How convenient that all of a sudden, I can't believe they've moved up. We were dying for that fight, dying for it. But he can go back and we'll see what's next.
Eddie, Callum Smith been rumoured to fight Benavidez back into this year. Obviously yourself, working with other promoters. What's the likelihood we could see Callum and Benavidez? It's a huge fight.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. I mean, look, Callum wants to become a 2-division world champion, but ultimately to do so, you've got to beat Benavidez or Bivol. It's not easy, but he's interim world champion. He's going to be in line for a shot at Dimitri Bivol, and there is a chance that he could fight David Benavidez around October time. We're still negotiating with the PBC, so we'll see. If he doesn't do that, he'll defend his interim world title in Liverpool or in the Northwest around the same time. Eddie over at Rob McCracken, he had his towel in the 12th round ready to go in, and obviously when he got dropped, but Galal did a good job of holding when he was hurt and kind of riding the storm, but he took a lot of punishment in the last part of the fight.
Something with the rest of the card as well, some fantastic points on there. Conor Walker, Liam Taylor incredibly tough in moments in there.
Yeah, it was a great night of boxing with so many talking points. I mean, firstly, Conor Walker's just been a bit of a revelation. I think he's a great fighter, and Liam Taylor was good tonight. After 6 rounds, it was nip and tuck, but fantastic knockout finish. I thought Peter McGrail boxed well. Baluta's a nightmare. He's very, very dangerous. Pat Brown is just a big, strong, grizzly, horrible, talented cruiserweight that I think beats pretty much every domestic level cruiserweight now. And he's only had 2 fights. He'll fight Lewis Oakford on July 5th in Manchester, which would be a great fight. I thought T8 was sensational on him. you see comments like, oh, the opponent was terrible. The opponent, beat Ruth Huntley, Queensbury's debutant the other week. She's been the distance with a lot of former world champions. She's never been stopped. She's never really looked that hurt in fights, and she just got sparked tonight by an 18-year-old. That is very, very special. Ibrahim Sulaiman was great. Giorgio Vizioli, brilliant 8 rounds for him. Aaron Bowen ready to step up, and Hamza Udin with a great victory.
Just one more from me. I saw Ben sat at ringside tonight. Any interesting conversations taking place?
A lot of interesting conversations, but as I understand it, he's under contract, and we wouldn't interfere with that situation. If he ever become available, honestly, I think we could do some sensational things with Ben Whitton. But until that time comes, it's a non-conversation.
But just away from tonight, I know you spoke at length about the Richardson Hitchens situation and Keith Connolly. I saw interesting tweets from Gervonta Davis pleading this sort of loyalty for Al Haymon, his love for Al Haymon, and a lot of fighters over the years have had this sort of long-term commitment to Al and see him as like a mentor. The relationships are always very strong. But you don't always see that in boxing. Why do you think these PBC fighters, they've always had this sort of commitment to Al, and what do you think the reasons are for?
Because I think some people are very good at that. I think some people are very good at making you feel like this is the guy that's really, my guy, and maybe is their guy. I think Al makes a lot of investment in fighters early on, whether that be through funding, whether that be through property or wherever it's going to be, and he's obviously got that trust for him. I mean, you see that with, I don't know, AJ or those guys, Katie Taylor, those elite people that really lean on me in that situation as well. Some don't quite get on or don't feel like you're the guy, but there's a lot of slippery people in this sport. I'm not referring to Al Haymon, but who make you feel like I'm your guy. Al's very different. Al's actually not the guy that he's worried about his credentials, and not the guy that's worried about getting in the photo or making sure he gets in the ring, because he don't even go to the shows. But he does work hard behind the scene, and I'm sure he cares for the fighters as well. So there are certain fighters that have extreme loyalty towards him, and rightfully so.
Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora 3, does that do anything for you?
Not really, no. I don't think that'll happen either.
Dave Allen, Joseph Parker, does that do anything more for you?
Maybe. I mean, I think look, it's going to be a tough decision for Dave, because he's kind of put himself in line for all these big fights where we've had probably 3 top 10 heavyweights discuss a fight with Dave Allen in the last 72 hours, and it was our plan to probably put him in with TKV to fight for the British heavyweight title. And that's actually a route I like, because I'd love to see Dave Allen win a British heavyweight title in Sheffield. Do you know what I mean? But a fight with one of those guys and making that kind of money, you can't ignore.
A couple of quick updates. Anthony Joshua, where are we at in terms of
honestly nowhere. Training camp, not ready to start, but close. We had a conversation the other day, and I said to him, you need to let me know when you'd be ready by, and that was end of October, but happy to fight in November or December. So we're only going to fight once this year. Nothing really, next question, who's it going to be? I have absolutely no idea. Dave Allen, no, it's not going to be Dave.
Eddie.
The Eubank Benn rematch, the weight rehydration clause, has that proved a sticking point in negotiations? I know it's just
there's no negotiation. The contracts are signed for the fight, so I don't think there is any negotiations. All we're waiting on now is just a date from His Excellency, and obviously the football fixture's out now. There's been a lot of conversations between us back and forward, September 20th, October 4th, etc. Could be later, but he'll make a decision on that, His Excellency, probably in the next week.